and welcome to the Levant Vibes, the podcast where we share stories of resilience, identity, and growth from the Levant region and beyond. My guest today is Rasha, a communication professional who spent over a decade with UNICEF in Syria. Rasha was awarded the prestigious Chevening Scholarship, completed her master's in international politics and human rights. Later, she made the big leap to start a new chapter in Dubai, working for UNDP. In our conversation, we're going to touch on so many topics. We talk about what is it like growing up in Syria, living in a war zone where it feels impossible to dream, and the courage it takes to put yourself out there and try new things, whether moving to new countries or even experimenting with content creation on social media. This conversation hit really hard for me. It almost made me cry. I enjoyed every piece of it, and I hope you do the same. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe. It will mean the world to me. It will give me the courage and the motivation to keep going, sharing more stories from incredible voices across the world. So, let's get started. Hey Rasha, thank you for joining the show.
Hey, Ola, really good to see you, and thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
I'm super excited. I remember many years ago when we used to work in UNICEF together. You're few years younger than me, and I remember your energy, positivity, and everything. And I'm super proud to see what you're doing now as well.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
You've recently went back to Syria. How was that?
It was full of emotions, to be honest. Going back to Syria recently was very emotional. The country is still beautiful, in my view, full of potential, and being with family and friends grounded me, so to speak. But at the same time, it was bittersweet. I lost my aunt while I was there, which was and still is a bit heavy on my heart. But moments like that remind me of how important it is to be with a family and to go back to your roots sometimes, and of not losing hope despite challenges and difficult circumstances. So, despite everything, I still believe there's so much potential for rebuilding in Syria, not only in infrastructure, but also with systems, communities, and the lives.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Rasha. Really sorry. Rasha, did you grow up in Syria?
I actually was born in Saudi Arabia, but my awareness started to be built in Syria. So, like many Syrian families or many Levantine families, the father goes and works in the Gulf area. So, I was born there, but we went back when I was in grade 5.
Yeah, how do you remember it?
It was simpler than life nowadays. We did not have social media back then. Although ironic now that we're going to discuss social media maybe later on. But back then, life felt simpler. The kind of interactions you would have with your friends. You have a lot of FaceTime and playtime in person with your friends. I value that. And I value also like the diversity that we grew up in back in Syria. You'd get to interact with children and people from different communities, different backgrounds at such a young age, and it helps you develop your character and your personality. It helps shape how you think and the way that you interact with life later on. So it was a rich experience, I would have to say, my childhood in Syria.
Yeah, my childhood was beautiful as well. And I agree with you. I think not a lot of people realize how diverse Syria is and Damascus is as well. And I think that was beautiful. And it's diverse in a different way, not like when you go to like I live in Australia and you have diversity from different nationalities. It's more diverse from different walks of life as well, which I think is beautiful.
Absolutely. Different areas, like the different cities have different backgrounds, ethnicities, religions. And sometimes when you see that all coming together, it does shape you differently from a young age. And you carry that with you wherever you go. And it enriches your experience, your awareness. So that is a gift that people who grew up in Syria would have had at least from my own take.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the medical system was fantastic. And it was pretty safe, and it's fun to live in as well.
Yeah, you have the social life is also a big part of it. Your friends, your neighbors in the neighborhood as well. And like you have friends from school, from the different institutions or activities that you go to, you get to form friends. That's a
Yeah,
special bond.
I agree with you. I think the social life tops it all because I remember you would
Yeah.
go to any place and you will see someone that you know. Like
Yeah,
it's always someone you know, someone you've met in school, university, work, or whatever. It's such a beautiful bond.
absolutely.
You've spent 10 years at UNICEF and you were during some of the toughest years of Syria. How was it working in that environment?
I was there during some of the toughest years that Syria witnessed, at least in and during our lifetime. I would say every day would be a challenge on its own because you had to hold yourself together and keep it together while working, even when your own life was sometimes affected by safety concerns or shortages in the basics of life. But at the same time, what kept me going was, to a large extent, the people around me, especially in the work environment. I was surrounded by beautiful colleagues like yourself, and all of us were very committed to helping and to giving back to the community, to supporting children or helping families who were in dire need at the time. And for long years, that was the case. So it was trying to be resilient, but at the same time, you would be inspired by colleagues' dedications around you. It reminds you that even like in the darkest times, there is hope in the form of people sometimes. And that experience was not about the job itself, but also it was in part shaping my character, my resilience, and my outlook on life. So yeah, it was a transformative experience for sure.
I remember one time, well, I didn't have electricity. It was like the whole
Yeah.
like day. And then you have to show up the next day to work. And you're not doing things for you. You're doing it for like kids. And so you have to deliver. And the colleagues around you, like everyone is so supportive, so resilient. Everyone's joking about it, like making fun of it, like making it lighthearted. Where if it happens somewhere else in the world, it can be hugely demotivating. When everyone asks me, how is it? I would say, there is the safety things and there is the living situations, which is like the water, the power, and everything in between.
The smallest things about like humanitarian crises in general, and in our case also in specific, teaches you about survival, but also like how to adapt and cope despite everything, and where and how to find your purpose amid all of that. So you grow, I mean, without like being so aware of the process.
And what was the role of communication there?
I've learned how powerful communication can be. I mean, in the middle of that conflict and the raging war, storytelling becomes kind of a connecting bridge. It allows people outside the country who may not understand the situation to connect with what's happening on the human level. It was very eye-opening because it was not about only reports, press releases, or being in the news headlines. It was more about how to humanize the situation and making sure that the world sees beyond the numbers, sees the people. The world is able to see that they're suffering and how they can support if they can. So that discovery also helped to plant the seed in for my passion about storytelling and content creation. It is important to tell the whole story because you're privileged somehow to be on the ground and to be the medium to convey that to the world.
Privileged to be on the ground. It's such a powerful word. What a great perspective. What did you find the most challenging thing about communicating what's happening and taking out the political aspects out of it and sharing more the people behind it?
It is exactly what you're saying. How to try to show the people and their stories by focusing on the human element, and also by avoiding to show people as victims. They happen to be in that place at that time. They did not ask for, especially children and families that we were working for, a war of not of their choosing. So it's important to highlight that it's so easy to try to maintain certain kind of war or conflict on the news by focusing on the political aspects of it. But our job was to try to be as transparent, as impartial, as supportive to everyone, and focusing on the element of leaving no one wherever they were, wherever they come from, focusing on the people who are in need. It's not easy to navigate. It's very sensitive and challenging to navigate during that time where almost everything is politicized. But maybe when we focus on the stories, on actually telling their stories with their own voices when possible, without imposing any kind of potential risks, it's very important to make their voices heard. And working with UNICEF or the United Nations in general, it is a privilege because it's, a channel or a medium that can be heard globally.
Having that channel it is a privilege for me. Working with UNICEF during that time gave me the feeling that I'm contributing. I'm not victim of what's happening without my choosing. I feel like the Syrian emergency has affected a lot of people inside Syria, but also has affected a lot of people who left Syria, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that's I can't debate. And it does take a toll on you as a humanitarian worker. Some days you feel you're in a constant fight or flight. It's also not easy for you because at the end of the day, you're part of that community. You cannot be witnessing all of these horrors and supporting without being affected because we are part of that at the end of the day.
Like, I remember one night there were fire exchange next to my place, and I slept in the corridor the whole night. And then I woke up the next day, you look outside the window, everything is fine, you get in your car and you go to work. And I didn't experience like half of what you or someone else has experienced. But I think part of me doing this podcast because I really want to show how rich our region is, like how amazing the people are, how motivated, passionate, educated, and we have so much to offer. And sometimes we get the opportunity to do it. Other times, unfortunately, we might not get the opportunity.
That's beautifully put. Painful, but it's beautifully put. I mean, being there, you feel like your life is on a pause. Whether you were for 2 years or for 7 years during that war, during my time there, I would say it did not leave much room for me to plan ahead or to make any longer term plans. It was the daily grind or the daily survival to properly dream as a human being of a good future or how you're going to form a family, for instance. That's a luxury that we did not have. And some other Syrians have had it worse, whether in Syria or whether outside of Syria. But I would say, despite how difficult that's been, it gives you a sense of empathy that wow, you're more aware of the suffering of others, and if, even maybe more determined to be useful to whatever community you're at, whether you're in Syria or outside. I mean, there is a sense of purpose and empathy that grows in you. So maybe I have not been able to dream in the traditional sense, but I did, and maybe you and I share that. We did find purpose in helping, in contributing, and in simply being there for our people, wherever that is.
Oh, it hits, when you say not able to dream, like it's something because you feel stuck and you don't feel you have horizon open. You're talking about planning a family. I remember I got married and I really didn't want to have a child there. If you have labor during the night, it's horrible because you never know what can happen, and everyone would have cesarean to avoid that. I was like, I'm not bringing a child to this situation. I never thought it hit me that way, but when you talked about it, is that the reason, Rasha, why you moved to Dubai? It must have been a big step as well for you to leave everything behind, because it was for me. I remember everyone here is like, in Sydney, when they hear that, it's like, it's no brainer to move out. It's like, yeah, it is no brainer. Now, after 12 years, when I did it, I felt like I was taken out of my roots. Like, I loved what I was working on. I had my family, everything I knew. I had my people. And then to take me and put me in a country, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. I'm super lucky to be here. But with no connections, nobody, no family, it felt hard. So tell me more about your experience.
Absolutely agreed. I mean, I left for Dubai last year, only like a little over a year ago. But deciding to leave Syria wasn't easy and will never be easy to anyone. Although I always loved traveling and experiencing new cultures, but it was different when you decide to move. And I always feel like maybe I have a place there to go back there. I don't know. So we'll see how
Mhm.
things go. But I think what was in part the trigger was the 2023 earthquakes that hit southern Turkey and northern Syria. And going there also for the response as part of being with UNICEF. After that period, I started to feel so overwhelmed. I felt like I started feeling like I had given so much of myself to the community and to my work and to being there in Syria with my people, with Syria. But I started realizing at the same time that it was also time to think about my own dreams. When the opportunity came to work with a UNDP project here in the region, in Dubai, I felt like okay, maybe that's a sign. It was never about leaving Syria behind, but it was about creating space for new experiences and maybe new chapters in my life. I knew that Dubai is going to challenge me for sure, but I knew at the same time it will give me space to grow. And when I hear you talking about your experience 12 years ago, maybe there's a time gap in both of our experiences, but there are a lot of shared parts of the experience. So, and makes me want to reflect where, as we speak.
Yeah, and I remember when I left, like I wanted to go back. It wasn't easy. So I know where you're coming from. But now I feel so privileged and lucky to be able to be here. And to your point, like to be able to dream and grow and drive my dreams. So I'm super proud of you for taking this step. So how is it living in Dubai?
It's been very transformative. I love the safety here. It's something that you don't have to worry about. You're very safe, especially when you're a female living on your own. It's super, super, super safe. Before coming here, I had only come to Dubai as a tourist, but living here showed me how global it can be, the experience. But at the same time, how competitive it can be. The opportunities are endless, and I'm lucky to have had the chance to learn to do things that I dreamed of. And most importantly, it's where I believe I found my passion for voiceover. I trained here, and during my training, I remember the narration part of the training for voiceover clicked, and I thought, what if I could use my voice to tell stories that are safe, warm, and meaningful, including also for kids. So the idea stayed with me. So it's been a huge learning experience. And I'm so lucky as well, like to be here.
Fabulous. Tell me more about this because now you still working with United Nations, but in a different capacity in Dubai. But now is more doing your passion around voiceover, content creation, and you're doing that in Arabic language. So how did this come about? How are you finding it?
I'm so still privileged to be working with the United Nations here. Maybe the context is different, but it's always great to be able to work with great people and interact with people with various experiences. And here the experience is a little bit different. It's more of development experience. It's more about growing, knowledge sharing, rather than just responding to emergencies. But I'd say being here, I found more space to think of the things that I love to do, including the voiceover. And after the training, it was what sparked the beginning of my Instagram page. And I also have it on TikTok, but I'm still finding my way around TikTok. I'm a millennial and it's not easy. After starting to learn voiceover, I wanted to share content in Arabic, like children's stories or pieces from books or even about historical events, bite-sized, useful information. I felt like the online space, at least around me, was full of fast trends, these quick dopamine hits, the content that you forget after you scroll through. And I do that, I do the scrolling part, but I can barely remember things that are not very meaningful or it hits somewhere. So I wanted to create something that's slower, something that makes people stop and think, and something that would stick. And that's where the idea came. And I felt like we needed more meaningful content in Arabic, share some kind of knowledge. Because we spend so much time on social media, why not like make some of that time useful?
I love your content for kids, and I told you that I save them and I show them to my kids. I don't see that often out there. So yeah, keep it up. But how are you finding it? What's exciting? What's challenging?
The beginning was terrifying, was exciting, but at the same time it was terrifying because I was very concerned and nervous about what people would say, especially like my friends. But what I tried to focus on was why I want to do that, why I want to try this untrodden territory. So focusing on that, I want to do this because I want to make something meaningful to others out there is what drives me. It's somewhat challenging, if I can say, like with having your work and job, but somehow you can make it work. It's stressful, but when it's more than a podcast to you or more than a page to me, it becomes a space to tell stories, to connect, to find and spread some kind of purpose.
Yeah, it's like having this podcast is my creativity outlet. It's something I'm doing just for me. Um, it's not my work, it's not for my family, it's just for me to express myself, express my creativity. And to your point, it takes time, it takes effort. Uh, yeah, but I love it. Now it's 10 p.m. my time, and I'm doing this, and I'm loving it. What I find really interesting, it's the first thing we worry about is what people is gonna talk about us, what they're gonna think about us. And we put that sometimes as priority instead of our dreams. I am so proud of you because you decided I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to worry about what my colleagues are going to say or my friends are going to say. I love them, I respect them, but I'm just going to push through. And I think this is true for so many people, including us, is we really worry about what other people say rather than really pushing towards what we love.
And like after all of this worry and nervousness, after it's launched, after it's been خلاص, it's out, it starts to feel refreshing and rewarding when you see the result of what you did or when you're enjoying it during the process.
I totally agree. It's like once it's out there, it's fine. It's a hype for a week or so. People will reach out to you, we'll see you in the corridor, in the office, and we'll talk to you about it. But then
Yeah.
nobody even cares. This is the funny part. We put a lot of importance on what other people think, but we're just a small piece in the world. Like nobody cares. Yes, you will be a sentence in the dinner conversation, and that's it. They will move over. But we put so much importance on that, and mind blowing to me.
And then you think like, why not? Then let me do everything creative or everything that I want to do. As long as you're doing something that you're enjoying, you're loving, that's not bad for anyone else. So why not? I mean, you feel like, okay, I'm ready to loosen up and let's do it. It's so interesting to me. Um, at one point in life, I did not think I'm a creative person. But when you sometimes push yourself or put yourself outside of your comfort zone, you start getting these creative ideas. How about I do this? How about I do that? It's a broad playground that we can experiment with.
I was the same. I never thought I'm a creative person. I always thought like I'm a very practical, I'm numbers person. I love math. I have an MBA degree. That's who I like. This is the story I told myself. But now like my daughter is so creative and I realized like I love painting. I'm actually quite creative. Creativity has so many different shapes and forms. I believe all of us are creative. There is a story we told or someone told us through like our life, and we believe that there is a creative person in every one of us. But how, in which shape this will come, I don't know. Life is about experimentation. And that's what I'm promising myself now, to try to your point, to experiment more, of course, based on time and availability, but experiment more and see what works, see what doesn't work, and put myself more out there.
Yeah, and I loved you're doing that. And by the way, it was so empowering for me, and it's so inspiring as well. And I love that it's empowering to others.
Honestly, doing the podcast, you're starting it, you're putting time and effort and energy into it, and you're getting nothing back. I think part of doing it for me to prove to myself I can do it, I can put myself out there. But the other thing is to show more about our region and the richness we have in our region, the people we have. It's just so beautiful. So that's part of my ambition with everything. And will I continue? Will I not? I have no idea. Like, that's what I'm promising myself. I'm doing it for me. I will go months without doing an episode. I'm doing it to really enjoy the process and hopefully contribute even with a little bit. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing this. It makes me feel like I can keep going. And I hope anyone listens to this, if they can, I don't know, subscribe, show love, like just tells me like if it makes sense to them. So on that note, Rasha, if you want to share one message with someone from the Levant region who might feel stuck, can't dream, they're hitting a wall right now, what would you want to tell them? What would you want them to hear?
Wow. um Maybe if I could say one thing, that would be it. I know what it feels like to be stuck. I've been there. When life feels heavy, it's hard to even think about the future. But being stuck doesn't mean that you're not moving. Every challenge that you get through shapes you, even if you don't see it right now, even if there's no immediate result. Maybe something that I've learned through my journey in life so far, that dreams don't necessarily disappear, but maybe they're waiting for you at the right time. So hold on to hope, take small steps, keep taking these steps, don't stop, and trust that your story isn't finished and there is always room for new beginnings in the way that you want to create your story.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Rasha. I love this conversation. It made my heart
So
melt. If anyone would like to follow your page,
if anyone is interested, the handle is Rasha Tells, Rasha Tells, on Instagram and TikTok, which I'm experimenting with.
thanks for joining the show.
Lovely speaking with you every time.